Some things you can't explain. You can only experience. Well, I was hoping to experience a sense of adventure, a sense of wonder, a sense of anything other than the agonizing, sleep-inducing boredom that seeped into every pore of my body as every frame, every second of this adventure plodded along. It would never end. I think it's still going, and I think I just gave up. Fountain of Youth is an Apple TV film in association with Skydance Productions. It was allegedly directed by Guy Ritchie. This is Swept Away Guy Ritchie. This is Operation Fortune Rose de Gueux Guy Ritchie. This is not Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Not Snatch Guy Ritchie. That sounded a lot less dirty in my head. This is not the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare Guy Ritchie. One of the people that was in that is actually in this, thankfully. It's the good one. And also he did the Sherlock Holmes movies that weren't great, but were fun. What was Robert Downey Jr.'s accent supposed to be? I don't know. This is actually more like Aladdin Guy Ritchie, where he just got a shit pot full of money to direct a big budget film that really had no right to exist. That's unfortunate because we had Naomi Scott in as Jasmine in the Aladdin movie, and the young man who played Aladdin deserves a whole lot better than he's gotten. Apparently roles have not been pouring in for him, and I actually think he's a decent actor. Name escapes me, but he was in a Shudder original that I believe came out last year where he played some bad guy and actually was pretty good, pretty funny. This was also allegedly written by a human being. I refuse to actually believe that, but I'm going to go with IMDb. James Vanderbilt, who did Darkness Falls, The Rundown, Zodiac, The Losers, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, White House Down, ID 4-2, a.k.a. Independence Day Resurgence, as well as Scream 5 and 6. So John Krasinski, yes, the man that directed A Quiet Place, also Jim from The Office, and also was, and rather still is, married to Emily Blunt. Good on him there. He plays Luke Perdue of the Boilermakers, where basically he is a thief carrying on his dad's work of adventure and wonder, and gets wrapped up in something where he is working for Owen Carver, who is funding this whole thing. Domhnall Gleeson, I'm probably getting that totally wrong. The guy that was the villain in Echo Valley. And he's also an Ex Machina. He's sick and wants to find the Fountain of Youth to cure himself, or cure others so they don't suffer the same as him. And he's got endless amounts of money. We find this out because set pieces and stuff just happens, and we really don't get any much context, not that the context doesn't necessarily matter. And also, Luke has a sister, Charlotte Perdue, of the Boilermakers, who is played by Natalie Portman. What did Natalie Portman defile to be stuck in a film like this? Also, there is somebody named Esme, played by the incredibly gifted and absolutely smoke show gorgeous Eiza Gonzalez. Does that make sense? No. Eiza Gonzalez, she is, my God, with respect, what a woman she is. Sweet fucking Christ on a cracker. She was great in the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. She was great in that. There was a scene where she was like doing some kind of like singing or whatever. She was in a club that just knocked my socks off because she looked great. We do also have Carmen Ajogo, Monster Agogo. We have Laz Alonso, and we have various other. We have Stanley Tucci in this for all like 5 scenes. I think they had him for a weekend. $180 million budget for this. So yeah, Apple TV is just burning piles of money. F1 was really good. You should experience that in theaters. This is just another one that just got shoved out on a streaming service. Now, it probably wouldn't have made that much money in theaters, and after some of Guy Ritchie's films have underperformed at the box office, to say the least, besides Aladdin, I can see why maybe Apple TV scooped this up and just gave him that and said, sure, we'll create content. Apple TV has the worst goddamn interface of any streaming service, I do want to say, and also has some issues if you try to cancel your month-long subscription. And while some of the shows certainly aren't bad, some of their movie offerings, besides Fly Me to the Moon and F1, are kind of absolutely shit, like Echo Valley. Speaking of which, let's have Fountain of Youth to that. They're looking for the Fountain of Youth in a movie called Fountain of Youth. There are quips that don't land, there are action scenes that feel hollow, and these characters really end up fucking mattering. It ends up just being a slog to get through. At 2 hours and 5 minutes, this really just feels like it is 3.5 hours. It drags on. It is really, really, really fucking bad. The opening is so it goes from light to dark, but it's like that day for night shit where it almost looks like AI tried to look at what darkness looks like, and then darkness falls, har har har. They had a better use of darkness in this movie, which is strange. And yeah, two siblings are looking for the fountain of youth and trying to repair their relationship. Also, there's a boy named Thomas that ends up factoring into the whole finish of this. So on Apple TV if you want to check it out. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, yeah, we get an opening in Bangkok. Nobody was roped into something, at least not in Bangkok. Oh, man, I got a closet full of jokes when it comes to John Carradine. We have John Krasinski on a motor scooter or a moped. He ends up having some people, associated with a guy named Kasem. Not of Casey Kasem fame. And he escapes through a market and manages to get, get them essentially, trapped. He gets on a train, but then the train doesn't work because Miss Isa Gonzalez, Esme, who is part of this group called the Protectors, they're trying to protect people, or protect the Fountain of Youth location. It's the Pyramid of Giza, by the way. Giza, I'm just going to call it that because I just want to picture a giant goose laying a goddamn pyramid-shaped egg, because it's funnier than anything in this movie. But my goodness, what a beauty she is. She's the hand of mercy. I'm leaving the jokes alone right there. Never mind. I said I would never mind. And yeah, we get these terrible fight scenes. It's obvious that they're attempting to do a sequel by the end of this, where maybe we get an association with Esme and Luke. We get the title 12 minutes in. Charlotte and Harold are divorcing. Custody of the kid is in question. Luke and Charlotte are siblings. Luke steals a painting. Charlotte, because it's her job, goes with him to try and stop him for doing this. It's all to find markings and shit on the back, but it's the wrong painting. Their dad was like some kind of master queef or thief or whatever he was. You're just chasing a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow after a long speech, is what Natalie Portman said. And Owen is funding this expedition because he wants to basically cure himself of whatever this stuff is. He has endless money, offers Charlotte a chance to get her son. And goddamn, everyone here is just around for a check. And I don't blame people. The whole point of movies is to make money, but also to kind of make art. And this is not art. This is shart. You could have cut this down in a third, given it to another director, and they would have been able to reel it back and actually maybe make it more of a fun adventure. And Esme is looking for their Esme. I'm just going to call her Esme because it sounds like Renesmee, and I just want to be reminded of the bullshit in Twilight. This is boring, stupidly boring. They bring a piece of ship to the surface so they can find more art, when they could have just simply scuba dive down there, but whatever. I do want to point out that John and Natalie have no chemistry at all. None at all. It's not that they're not talented. It's not that they're not trying. There's just no chemistry here. But again, Miss Gonzalez, with respect. Check out Ash, by the way. That's on Shudder. She's really, really good in that. These fight scenes are generic. These action scenes are generic. People get shot. Who's on whose side? I don't know. I don't care. Harold, Charlotte's ex, knows about Owen Carver. Turns out Owen Carver actually will just buy up companies and do hostile takeovers. Like it's, in, I believe, her words, a declaration of war in the 30s. There's a detective that I'm going to call Detective Abass, because it's just funnier that way. I mean, I'm sure he has a name. If I sound cruel, I don't care, because this movie really doesn't bother to establish his characters. This detective is looking for them. And then Casey Kasem and his band of crews show up, or his band of misfits show up to get Luke. And we get a slow-mo fight while Luke and everybody get away from their hideout, but they have more resources and everything. And then dream sequences where Luke is dreaming of getting the cup of life, ale. Ricky Martin breaking out in song would have actually made this better. Bet you didn't expect a Ricky Martin reference. And I hear that you're talking in your sleep, and there you go. So Luke basically was trying to restore the family name. And then in fair Vienna, where we lay our scene. I know it's Verona. Work with me here. They're in Austria. Oh no, I'm innocent. I was only following orders. They want to find the Wicked Bible because the King James Bible and the Wicked Bible have clues. Renesmee shows up and we get a library fight at one point. I'm like, could she pin me up against a bookcase like that? I'm trying to find a woman to treat me like that. And then she gets hung from a rope. Oh man, they weren't in Bangkok, so we can't make the David Carradine joke. Won't stop me, but there we are. Everybody is stupid and bad at everything in this. Owen has some fighting skills. He throws change at a guy and then beats up 2 guards that are part of these protectors. He does it in front of Thomas. Thomas then, by the way, figures out that this whole sequence has to do with musical notes and plays something called Water in the Desert, like the Ocarina of Time or whatever thing that was. It Wind Waker that dealt with the music? Which one was it? I think it was Wind Waker. So, it's the Pyramid of Giza. And Luke basically has to apologize to Charlotte because just before that he pissed her off enough. Like, hey, you won't want to honor Dad's name and everything, and look what you've done, and I want to carry on what he's kept accomplishing. Oh, look, Detective Abbas is here. And the protectors want to keep this a secret. Stanley Tucci shows up, and then we find out in the flashback he hands her a key, Renesmee a key, to basically lock the goddamn thing up if the wrong person uses the Fountain of Youth. What if she loses the key? We get a shootout among the pyramids. People are just dying indiscriminately, getting blown up. I don't know who's getting shot. I don't care at this point. We're near the end of the movie. And there is a thing on there that basically foreshadows what's going to happen. The thirsty man betrays himself. He got that thirst, bro. God, I sound so fucking white saying that. What do you want with me here? He ends up shooting John Krasinski as a way for him to go down and test this Fountain of Youth. It's actually in a pit that you could walk in. So your dirty shoes and clothes can basically infect all this. But the pure water cures his arm, but then Owen shoots him because he wants to harness this water, much like the Holy Grail in Indy 3 and the Ark of the Covenant in Indy 1. And then he basically ends up shooting Luke a couple times, but that doesn't work because it heals him. He's having all these weird dream sequences, and Owen's like, oh, fine, it works, but he's the wrong person. We find out about the key, and then yeah, he ends up dying, rotting away and everything. Because he chose poorly. And then they escape the maze and the pyramid and all the stuff collapsing and everything. And then Isaac Gonzalez kisses him on the cheek and says, maybe I'll see you later. God, there is no man that could resist her. What a beauty she is. And that is it. That is the end of the movie. I know I skipped over a lot of stuff, but please tell me what nuances I missed in this goddamn fiasco. Because it is really, really bad. It is really, really fucking bad. It gets an F. I don't know if it's the worst movie I've seen this year. No, it's not. The Rule of Jenny Penn is. I don't even know. It's not worse than Jurassic World Rebirth, but it's just so sanded off and generic. It doesn't end up... I did not even remember a lot of what happened, like 3-4 scenes before. I had to have notes. And there were things I skipped over. This is a movie that if you don't take notes, even for a letterbox review, if you don't maybe write them in a notes app, you are going to fucking forget most of it by the time the second act starts. And then you'll really forget stuff by the time the third act starts. And by the time the end credits roll, you'll think, what the fuck was I watching? Anyway, if agree, disagree, what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin, and until we meet again, happy trails to you.